Good morning. Good morning. I want you to remember the words, I got you. I got you will loom very large in what I'm about to speak about. First, I'll tell you who I am. He briefly explained it. My name is Edward Smith. I normally only go by Edward when they're writing the check, but that's a different story. But professionally known as Platinum No Limit Rap Artist, Mr. Servon, that was on No Limit Records under Master P. My major in school was marketing. And I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, here, uptown, on the rough corner, 6th and Baronne, which shaped a lot for me, because I went through a lot. At 15, I was shot at 15, and I ran home to my mama. 17, I was stabbed, I ran home to my mama. Got in school, was gonna attend Norfolk State, got in trouble. My mama drove a bus up to Norfolk State, and the judge asked her, he can do 2 years or he can go in the program. She signed me into the military. That's my mama. When I was right about 15 after the incident happened, my mama told me, she said, I want you to come shopping with me. I said, okay, Mom. And so she said, look, wear your white shirt and your black jeans. And I was like, Ma, that don't match. It just don't go. And she said, they got pretty girls working Winn-Dixie. I wore my white shirt and my black jeans. And when I got there, she walked up to the desk, and I saw, some pretty girls there, I can't lie. And when I saw this lady come down, Miss Rhonda, she said, what time I pick him up? She signed up my application for my first job. When I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, she always would tell me, I got you. When I was shot and I made it home, she said, I got you. When I went through what I went through and ended in the military, say, I got you. Even though she sent me to the military, but hey, it was a better option. So, tell you more about myself. Of course, I was on No Limit Records, and I had a number 5 album in the world that he spoke of, and I had a number 1 album in the world on Billboard. And one of the things with me and my mom was the fact, she was like, no matter how far you go up, and no matter where you go, I'm always have you, I got you. And remember I told you, remember the word, I got you. So as time go on, and I start gaining all the things in life that people, to me, the material things, the houses, the cars, the attention, the fame, and whatever, whatnot. One day something was told to me. And my nephew, who I told him, I said, look, you don't have to work. You just stay by mom. You be with my mom. You be with moms. Be with your grandmother. Just take care of moms. And, she was fine. She was driving. She was living her life, being who she was, a woman of God. We kind of had our differences because I cursed a little bit. Well, I cursed a lot. And so, on songs, and I was raised in the church, which something she didn't agree with. And her name was Dolores Trish Smith, and professionally known as Big D. And she was a small lady, so you can understand what Big D means. She didn't play games. And she was the type of woman that I had to be home before the lights come on. And she was the type of woman found me, and as I'm trying to get home, she would tell me, if I beat you home, I'm gonna, the different, what else. And so that's where Big D comes from, because as I ran home and got 4 houses away from the house, she sped up and beat me home. And she taught me lessons of things, because she always said, always be reliable, always be dependable. And so, and people can count on you. And so, I'm gonna jump back to that message, and my nephew said, we took grandma to the hospital today. And I said, why? I said, what's wrong? And he was like, come home. And I was on tour at the time. And he said, please come home. I said, okay, I'm gonna come home. What's going on? What's wrong with my baby? She's been diagnosed with dementia. That's my hero. How many of y'all in here, your parents is your hero? Or was your hero? So now I'm looking at my hero, and she's telling me nothing is wrong. But then she's asking me, who are you? My mother asked me, who am I? And I explained it. And then I decided, like, what's going on? And I'm like, how much it costs? Because I made it. And they told me, it's not about the amount of money. It's about understanding and gaining the knowledge to what you're about to face. And so for me, it became the fear of the unknown. And when you watching your hero, a woman that worked 3 jobs, 2 during the week and 1 on the weekend. My father was taken from us tragically when I was 4. So all I ever knew was my mother. Yeah, I searched for a father. I used to date girls who had fathers, only girls who had fathers, so I could find a father figure. But as normal, the streets. And within being in the streets and older cousins who were in the streets, I found my way, but I always found my way back to my mother. Because she always had me, because she always told me, I got you. And so being in music, you have to understand the bravado of it, because rap is the most egotistical sport in the world. Everybody think they're the best, and we have so much to hide, because we always want to show strength, and we always want to show that we got everything together, and there's nothing we can't do, and there's nothing we can't pay for to make right. Sometimes we get caught into the realities of life that just don't make sense. And for me, this is my hero. She's repeating herself. You know, she's asking, who am I? She's asking me, do I have a brother? Do I have a sister? And she had a daughter, and she had another son, which was my older brother, and I'm the baby. But I was always treated like the grown one, the biggest one, because of what I accomplished in my life. So I'm trying to figure it out, and it scared me. It scared me a lot, because being who I am and what I was doing, it could not fix what I felt was going wrong, that I didn't know was going wrong, if that make any sense to you. And I never found embarrassment in it, because my mother is my mother. That's everything. You know, as not being funny, but I kill a dead tree over her 10 times over, because that's my mother. And that's my hero. That is my life. That is my heart. I learned how to be a man from a strong black woman. And now I have to, thank you, and now I have to be the man that she once told me. And she told me this when I first started getting into music. She said, be the man your father was. And I never understood that. And the only thing I knew about my father, because he died tragically, he was taken. I knew he was tough. He was a gangster, so to say. And he was one of the first black men to own a Texaco station, which now in Jackson and LaSalle down here is a chicken mart or whatever. But how he got it is how he got it. And so she always told me, be the man your father was. And I never understood that until one day when I'm sitting with her and I came home and I'm seeing it set in. I started reading about it. I started understanding about it, because she was the type to make me read the newspaper and read the dictionary. You know, every day, 1 page of the dictionary. You had the newspaper, the dictionary, and the Bible to read. And so when I start reading about dementia and Alzheimer's, and I'm like, not my mama. This is a woman that do crossword puzzles in her sleep. You know, this is a woman that will make me spell words, not one way, but spell them backwards. And if I got it wrong, I had an extra night to wash dishes and other things around the house. And she keyed on education. So I'm like, this is a woman with a brain that's filled with everything you need to know. Every time I had an answer, that I needed an answer, excuse me, And I'm like, not my mom. And I started trying to understand what was going on with her. And so as time moved on, the pain set in of moving back home, because she told me, why are you living away? I need you here. And I'm like, okay, I'll come back home. And when I got back home, I got to see it. I got to feel it. I got to be called at 2 in the morning, Mom is gone. And now I'm sitting there saying, I'm this guy, Mr. Servon. I have money, I have friends, I have everybody be in my face, and everybody can do this and do that, but nobody can help me find my mother at 2 o'clock in the morning. And some told me, get up. And this is when it became serious to me, to where I got up and I was driving, and I found her. And when I found her walking, she was almost, I would say, a mile away from the house. And she was just telling me she was going to help her church members. And I said, okay. I said, it's okay, Mom. And she was like, who are you? I'm your son. And we went through these battles constantly. And I started saying to myself, remembering the words, I got you. So now I had to reverse that and say, I got you, Mom. And I walked away from music. I walked away from everything I was doing to become her caregiver. And it was hard to understand it, because at the same time, it wasn't a job, it was personal. Because I had to protect her. Then I had to get used to some things, through this journey that I never thought I would get used to. Because at 10 years old, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. And the reason why you never heard me speak of a father again, or a male figure, because she lost her left breast. It was taken from her, of course, with breast cancer. And she said, due to my body, you never see a man around here who will want this, And so for me, when I'm looking at her diagnosed with what she's diagnosed with, I'm like, she got through breast cancer. She's still here. She changed her diet, lost weight, everything after her breast cancer scenario, and got in this perfect shape, walking, changed everything. She wasn't eating anything white rice, sugar, flour, you name it, red sauces. She changed everything. And, and I sat down and I started thinking, how can I figure this out? Because I didn't understand of where to go for help, because again, the pride of who I am, who I push myself to be, was like, I don't want nobody to know about this. I don't want nobody to see my mom go through this. Because in my business, they use that as ways to get to you. Sad to say. And so I had to figure this out. And through reading Alzheimer's organization and the things that I saw and I read, and I said, okay, how do I get this help? How do I do this? Because now I've always solved everything. Never was afraid of nothing but my God and my mama. So now I'm trying to figure this out, and I'm watching my hero leave the house, get lost sometimes, just stop, just pass out, going through, and I start figuring out anxiety. Okay, how do we fix this? And so as time went on, I started doing things on Instagram. I started doing me and my mom with dementia. And I never knew what those videos would do for people. Because a lot of us, especially in the black community, we honestly don't know much about it. It's not something that's talked about. They just say you're getting old. And we bypass a lot of things in the black community because of embarrassment, and don't want people to know that mom not what she used to be, dad not what she used to be, and them themselves are very proud, because I also ran into that, the pride of it all. And as time went on, I said, okay, I'm home, I'm gonna move her in with me. And so that's when I really got to see it every day, all day. And I didn't know how to get help. I understood things about, with a insurance covered and things like that. And I felt like I'm still a private person. I'm still a prideful person. That this is my mama, this is Mr. Servo mama. No, I gotta get her help though. And so I remember something she always told me. Excuse me. Be the man your father was. And my father took care of everybody. And his favorite saying was, don't trip, I got you. I got you. Remember every time I told you I got in trouble or I got hurt or anything happened, who I ran to? My mama, because she said, I got you. I'ma always have you. So I made that decision to say, I got you. And it wasn't easy because we lost her last year on January 11th. But I knew she had me, so I had to have her. But the thing about it, with her being in the house with me, and I get to see her every day, I got to see it up close. I got to see the strongest person I know next to God's love deteriorate. And it wasn't just the fact what she was going through. Now I had to go back to something that she did purposely when she signed those papers to send me into that military program, because she said I needed structure. She said I needed discipline. And so I had to turn back to my military days to form structure for her. And meaning changing her diet, something she did after her breast cancer, journey through that. And then structure of a daily structure. That it was pretty hard because you're dealing with a woman that went through the 60s and didn't fear anything and was independent. A woman who raised 3 kids by herself. And so her independence, it was still there. She still wanted to get up and sweep. She still wanted to get up and do something. And then I watch a lot of people back away. I watch my older brother, who I got upset with, because you're gonna go through that. And I went through that where people would like, something wrong with his mama, something wrong with my auntie, something wrong with my auntie. And people backed away. Maybe a few came to help. A lot of them didn't. But you're gonna go through that. And I experienced that. I experienced having to give my mother a bath. And that was hurtful to her because it was embarrassing because I'm her son, I'm the baby. I didn't want to hear some of the things she would tell me why my dad liked her, but that was a different story. But too much information, Mom. But we had to do these things. And then once I start looking at what Alzheimer's, the care things that were there for us, that were there in the programs, things that we didn't know about, to get help, to have a lady that would come and give her baths and talk to her and put a lotion on her and things like that. And so then I had to start creating structure, which means I had to tell my mama, no, you can't do some things, which kind of felt good because she started telling me no, but, and then just put her in a situation. And what I mean by structure, and any of you ever go through that, because it's scary. Once I start putting things out on Instagram, so many people would hit me and say, my dad was just diagnosed, my mom was just diagnosed, my aunt, I don't know what to do. And it was a lot of black people. They were afraid of the unknown, of knowing what to do. And so, I'll give you a few pointers of things that I started doing. I believed in jogging your memory, because even in rap, everybody think you just get in the studio and you rap this and that and that and that, but you have to remember your lyrics. You have to know how to perform. You have to know how to move. And so you have to do exercises to mentally make sure you're on point when you perform. And so I would do different things. You know, her favorite thing was watching Good Times, which, because, I don't know, she had a crush on James Evans, but we'll leave that alone. So, because I had to hear about that also. And so she loved still reading her portraits of prayer, something that our church would give her, and read her, you know, scripture today. And we would sit and talk. So what I started doing, just to give you guys some pointers, you know, in the morning, of course, you know, get her together, get her cleaned up and everything. And then I would sit down and ask her questions that I already knew the answer to, because it kept her mind moving. Then I started taking her on my errands, but I would purposely pass her high school, her old job, our old house, and she would talk, which kept her mind moving. And then my kids, which is my youngest one, you know, she's 17 now, and I call her Tupac because she's the tough one of the crew. But my mom loved her to death, and they would talk. And I would tell her, talk to your grandmother, make her answer questions. You know, and so we would go through those things and take drives and things like that. And then I discovered the main root of things that I hope can help a lot of you guys out there: anxiety. Anxiety sets in. Anxiety makes a lot of patients like that get up and go. You know, and of course I had cameras around my house. Sad to say, I'm a rap artist. We need them for safety. And so I would always be able to see her movement. And it would be when she would get upset, her anxiety would sit in, and she wanted to go back to somewhere that was comfortable for her. And so with anxiety, I realized what calms me down. Because I was in the military, I was in Desert Storm, and I tell a lot of the young guys, not getting off subject, y'all say y'all about war in these streets, y'all haven't seen war. Not what I saw, not what I went through. And so I used to use music. Music was my therapy. And so, okay, long story short, with everything, I decided, and this is what I'm saying about, you have to put structure and you have to do things that's gonna help your loved one. And for me, I developed headphones that have recording where I can put her favorite music, her favorite church music on there. I put her favorite things, and then also where you can record and say, Mom, you have 3 sons, and then the names, and Mom, you went to this school and that school, and she will repeat it. You know, so these are some of the things that I did to help, you know, help my mother, you know, during this time. But the most important thing was the knowledge that I started learning from the programs that we have. And I will say this in the end, you know, because I know I have to end real soon. It's gonna come a time in your life where you're gonna be the one that's gonna have to say, I got you. And that's gonna be the hardest time. And it's gonna be the hardest thing, because I fear no man. I fear God and my mama, but I feared this. But I had to stand and say, Mommy, I got you. And I pray that all you guys, if you're ever in that position in any way or form, just know that your parent had you one day, at one time. And you got to turn to them and say, Mommy, Dad, I got you. Thank you.